Well, let's jump. You just kind of led right into it. What's the NYPD like around this time? Because I will say I come from a family of New York police officers. I'm totally with them. But I should say the NYPD around this time, maybe not the best run organization in the world.
Yeah, it did not have a lot of resemblance to anything we associate with a modern police force. Now, it was tied in with Tammany Hall, so there was a lot of corruption. There was a lot of kind of blind eyes delivered to, or whatever one does with a blind eye, to prostitution rings and gambling, and a lot of kind of money being taken in on the side on those things. And crucially to this story, there was almost nothing resembling investigators, nothing resembling detectives. That there were technically people on the force as early as the 1880s who were called detectives, but they had no real training in being a detective. They had no information science to help them. They had no forensic science to help them. And so the idea of a cop actually like solving a crime rather than beating a confession out of a suspect was just kind of unthinkable. The NYPD part of the story is a story about how institutions change, right? Like not just how an idea emerges, but like how does a slow-moving, long-standing institution that's bureaucratic and has a whole set of traditions, how does it get reinvented? And that is a story really, again, the anarchists are at the center of it, but it's driven by these two figures. So there are a couple of interesting characters in the mix in addition to them. One of them is this guy, Joseph Farreau, who I mentioned earlier. And then the other one is this fascinating guy, I think largely forgotten, named Arthur Hale Woods, who was a well-born Boston Brahmin, kind of a Roosevelt-style progressive, was actually a protege of Teddy Roosevelt's, kind of a reformer, a social reformer, a Harvard man who lived at the Harvard Club. And he gets this idea that you can reinvent policing using science and using these new techniques, using techniques like wiretapping and cultivating a culture of intellectual sophistication among the police and not just kind of physical force. He makes one kind of an initial attempt, gets appointed a deputy commissioner in 1907, and that goes disastrously wrong, reasons the readers can find out about when they read the book. But then he gets reappointed in 1914, which is really like this kind of the centerpiece of the book, is this sequence between 1914 and 1919. And Woods leads the NYPD for 3 or 4 of those years and really revolutionizes it, introduces a whole host of innovations, and it's the kind of the birth of the modern NYPD we know today.